been in the industry for a little bit over a year. I am a creative consultant, which means creatives usually ask me how to do stuff. I'm also an events planner and an artist babysitter. I say artist babysitter instead of artist management because I feel like we're not there yet, but you know, I help artists out a lot. So I'll call it babysitting. Don't post that, don't do that, do this way. So that's something, a little bit of what I do, and I'm also a producer. So not like music production. I don't know anything about that, but video production. So aside from that, I am the project lead for the Malawi Hip Hop Awards, which was launched last year. People keep asking, are you guys doing it again this year? And I don't know, so we'll find out. I'm also the co-founder of New Wave Malawi. So with New Wave, we're passionate about distribution and access to music in Malawi. So instead of the downloads and the WhatsApp group chats, we want to get people streaming and build that culture in Malawi. So that's a little bit about what we do. And then aside from that, I've worked with Entire Media and Tau Foundation before it was a place on Google Maps. And look at how much it's grown now. I also worked on Lightfest, the local music festival that just passed. I've worked with Zonse Media and a bunch of other creatives and artists like episodes Who Is Late, Toast, Luzio, Big Phil, and this goes on and on. So I'm in and out of the industry in that sense. And then today I'm here to present on alternative revenue for musicians. I wouldn't say I'm an industry expert, but I think I can guide the conversation because New Wave essentially is doing a little bit about that. So my first question is, what do you guys understand about revenue? Money. What about the money? Where does it come from? What does it do? Anyone else? The answer is understand that revenue is money, which it is. No? You want to take this? Okay. So according to Google, revenue is the total amount of income generated by the sale of goods and services related to the primary operations of the business. In this case, the artist is the business. I understand someone has already mentioned that before in his, workshops, right? So the artist is the business. And if we're talking about, so with revenue streams for musicians, it's so broad that you could actually go crazy. And because the industry is always changing, I mean, now we have NFTs. How many of you know what NFTs are? It's a little. Yeah, I know something. No, but like, okay, just so you know what NFTs are, right? Yeah. That's something new that musicians are now using to earn revenue. They're selling some form of, I don't know what, on the internet. But that's what I mean. Like, the game is always changing. So there's a new way that we come up with to, make money for musicians. But the ones I've listed here are the ones that I think can work in our ecosystem in Malawi. Right? So there's live shows and touring, there's merch, there's music publishing, there's brand partnerships, there's streaming, there's physical music sales, and there's music licensing. So now, like I said, these are the ones that I think can work in Malawi. But what I want us to do is we're going to have a conversation around these things and see what you think. Maybe you think, I think it works because I'm new and I haven't been in the industry that long, and I might be excited or too hopeful. But I would like us to look at and see, okay, what are the pros and cons of what we're doing? And, can this work in our context for our musicians so that they can earn more money from what they do? And I think that the primary driver of revenue in Malawi is live shows, right? That's usually how most artists make their money because happens throughout the year, etc., not throughout the year, but, that's usually the main thing. So, the takeaway. So the first thing I want to talk about is why alternative revenue. I put that in brackets because I still think we just need revenue in general. Like artists are not making that much money from what they do, right? But also, if they're making money, which is from live shows, it's not everyone who's benefiting from that because most shows with the same artists. Like for week in, week out, you're seeing the same people over and over again. So I think it's the need for revenue in general. One is sustainable income, right? So live shows happen, it's seasonal. It's like from June going this way, where it's like summer and it's peak activity for live shows. People are getting booked, etc. But now, no live shows. How are artists making money? That means your income is not sustainable. That's why you see most artists actually have day jobs to support the artistry. The second thing is structural progression for the industry. In other industries, if you're not releasing a project, you could songwrite, literally, that can take you through the year, because music is someone's just creating a new song. So if you're a songwriter, you identify as a musician / songwriter. You're songwriting, you know that, okay, if I want songwriters, I want Yapo, right? And then aside from that, it's like, okay, now you said you're releasing a project, you sell the project, right? So now that's the norm. We know that, okay, if someone is releasing a project, they're probably going to sell it to create revenue. Aside from that, maybe they'll develop some merchandise to create even more revenue. So it kind of brings structure to the industry. It's like not everyone is just finding or trying to figure it out on their own and stuff like that, which I also think is a good thing when it comes to, having alternative revenue streams. Aside from that, it creates jobs. So if we're looking at live shows, how many people do you have to employ for that fest? Exactly. It needs a lot of technical support. If you're looking at merchandise, you need service providers. You're going to hire a graphic designer to develop the merchandise for you. You're going to need service providers to create the t-shirts, whatever it is that you're doing. And also, just generally, if we introduce stuff like songwriting and make it normal in the industry, then that's something that someone can do even if they're not that big of an artist, but generate income for themselves. So I think that's another thing that's very important when it comes to the need for alternative revenue. It opens up the industry, opens up the market, creates jobs. And the last point that I've listed is reinvestment. So the more money you have, the more money you have to spend on your art. So the quality of your life improves, but so does the quality of your art. Your music videos look better, the way you dress looks better, the gigs that you everything just shoots up a level. You buy better equipment, better cameras, it's just how it is. So the money, if you earn more money, then you have more money to reinvest into your business as well, which is your artistry. So I'm going to check my phone to make sure I didn't forget any points. Okay. Alright, so moving on to the objectives for today's workshop. We're going to be discussing the pros and cons, like I said. And what I want us to do is, like I said, I think that these things can work. So we're going to go down, like, alternative revenue stream by alternative revenue stream, and figure out what are the pros and cons, and is it feasible for our market? Why is it feasible? What challenges can a person face if they want to explore this alternative revenue stream? Aside from that, we're going to explore methods that help musicians keep track of their revenue. Because if I ask you now, how many of you know how much you made this year? I don't know if you can tell me off the top of your head or have a rough idea or rough estimate. It's just you got the money, yay, and then you move on. And then you move on to the next gig or whatever it is. And then lastly, in my exercise, we're going to develop a plan for you to pursue one alternative revenue stream, or for artist money, just for your artists to develop an alternative revenue stream of your choosing. And then we're going to wrap up. So back to the third slide, revenue for musicians. The first one is live shows and touring. Nthangwanika, what do you understand about how you get earned from live shows and touring? Pros and cons. Yeah, they've been planning.
Okay, can you come again? Sorry.
Okay, how can someone earn from live shows? How's the money made from live shows? Still thinking, huh?
Yeah.
So it's two ways. If you're the organizer, you make your money from ticket sales, right? Yeah, the sales of tickets is what brings you money. If you're the performer as the artist, then it's from your performance. That's how you make the money from live shows. Now, with most live shows in Malawi, it's like they're not curated to match a certain experience. It feels more like, oh, we want to have a live show. Who has the hit songs this year? Then they book those people, and then they just mash it up together. And like, okay, we're having a live show here. Grisba, how are your streams? How is it going? Tell us. They're good, right? Yeah, they're good. So I think you have the advantage of how you've come up in the industry. So most of your fans are already streaming. Yeah. So streaming your music is not something that is foreign to them, or they feel like, this is about us to stream. Yeah. But majority of what we are now calling the big artists in Malawi, downloads. Yeah. They are still celebrating 40,000 downloads, whatever, and it's like, you're getting nothing from that, And I think, you're getting the exposure, they'll get get booked for live shows. 40,000 download, book this one. That means the song is popping. So I think that we need to all push for a culture that promotes streaming. Because of course it's peanuts, but the benefits are, one, it's muyaya. Like, people stream, that money belongs to you. And also with stuff like streaming, people just stumble upon your music. And like I said, building a fan base is literally core to making more money. It's like fans are the ones who carry you through your career. So with streaming, it gives you that exposure, and not just limited to the region you're in or the ecosystem you're in, which is Malawi. Like, you could have people streaming from. It's always so random. You're like, why is someone from India listening to Lucia's music? I'm like, how did they even find it? Like, But it's literally, it builds up your global network, and that's how like more money can be earned by the musician. And what else? Music publishing, music videos. So it's the same thing. So with music publishing, it's really just about your distribution, right? You have to have a plan. Don't just say, oh, okay, I'm releasing today, and you just jump and like, you send it everywhere. You have to think about it because you're publishing your music. So in other countries, like most musicians are signed to a publisher. Malawi doesn't have not even one. We do not have a music publisher. Because what a music publisher does is that they're able to track where your royalties are. It's like, okay, you've given us your song. Then it's my job to say, okay, I'm going to take your EP, I'm going to register for Soma, I'll separate it. After I do that, I send it to radio. So I know, okay, I gave it to Capital FM, I gave it to these guys, I gave it to these guys, I gave it to these guys. When the sheet comes back, you cannot cross-check. You tell them, put it, boss, I sent my music to this radio and this TV station as well, and I don't see that here. So that's what a publisher does. But an artist doesn't have time for that. So when someone comes and gives you your money, and just like, all right, thanks, and I'm gone. So maybe that's something that someone can develop in future. But until then, that's literally how hands-on you have to be about your royalties. Like, those wars you see with the artist, Kanye and his record label, it's not a game, it's his money. Like, I want 100% to have my rights when you bring this guy. Introduce a bundle that is specifically used for streaming that is cheap. Because it's like, I'm already a struggling artist, like, help me out here, And advocacy is like what I'm saying can go a long way. So that's like one of the things okay, if we bring down data costs, we're saying more people will have access. What I can tell you right now about Malawians on the internet in a country of 20 million, the highest possible number you can get of followers on Facebook is 700,000. Yeah.
Yeah, and which almost
also 700,000.
No, it's 700,000. The statistics are in Facebook Business Suite. Yeah. So you go to Facebook Business Suite and it will tell you, okay, my most followed pages in the hour. Then you want to push, we don't figure 700,000. Yeah, literally, maximum, in a country of 20 million people. But now some things are out of your hand, right? Exactly. Not at all. But I mean, the potential is not limited to our country, which is why streaming and getting the information out there is important. Because some progress is slow, you can't wait for it. Sometimes you just leave and say, when you get here, like some things are really not in our power. And stuff like the training that our foundation does to get people to have more digital skills and put them on the internet is what can help you. But how many artists are even advocating for that? You know how to use it, and that's good for you. Like, you don't care about the man behind you to say, hey, let me show you an easier, simpler way to do this thing. So either way, it's like there's no one formula to say, okay, this is how we can solve all these problems and get Malawians online. I mean, we're a poor country anyway. So
I think just an opinion, suggestion.
Yeah.
I think it may what if we this whole both ways? Was among ourselves and the Malawians, also, let's not forget the biggest way of making money as an artist is through my show journey for the time being. I know first there was a time when I do my page on Facebook. So we're slowly getting there. I believe with time we'll have to about one of the people will be streaming our music. With the time being, people will I say all you know
imagine, I'm waiting for the problem with being late. Yeah, so yeah, no, that's literally, like, at least he summarized what I've said so far, literally. But you know what, with music publishing, you really need to focus on your distribution. Don't just focus on one platform. Just saying, all my fans must stream. Not as lucrative where we're at right now. So you really need to diversify, to say, okay, radio, TV, streaming, downloads, put it all out there. You never know what's going to happen. But what I'm saying with the downloads is that stuff like Umata Extra, that's now a development that we can get behind as musicians to say, this is going to make me money. But everything else where you just give them your content and never see anything out of it, don't let them tell you they don't make money out of that. They have that platform, they'll go to their advertise on our website because these are the number of people that come here. The people go there looking for your music, but the artist gets nothing out of it.
Yeah.
When you're a smaller artist, you get paid to put your music there, which is like Uber, it's Uber. But stuff like that, people don't talk about in our industry. It's just like the way it is. So as a result, years have been going by. There's some people now, they should have been millionaires because they've been in the game. They've been getting those downloads for like years now, but no development whatsoever. So other people have figured out how to trick you out of making your money. The other thing is, they upload that music for you. Effie will tell you his EP was uploaded by someone else, and the person ghosted him. So you guys are streaming. So you guys are streaming his EP. You're streaming his EP. That money is going to those people that he's never gonna see again. Which is why I say research and like being aware is very important for an artist, because it's literally such a complex business that at any one point someone is ripping you off. Your booking agent could be a thief. They will tell the person, the booking fee is 300,000. They'll get 300,000. They'll give you 200 bin. Reality of an artist's life. Exactly. So I think, you really have to be vigilant as an artist and say, okay, I need to be on top of things. Which is why I say you really have to monitor how your music is dispersed. That publishing is very important. Where has your music gone and how is it getting there? So that's it on streaming.
Before you continue, I also wanted to add on what Joe Kells was saying. I think it also goes down to the fan base, because AlternativeRevenue. I think AlternativeRevenue is like a big artist, but the kind of fan base that he has, the Nthangwanika, and Angabange stream. No offense, but the kind of fan base that he has, like Antago.
But then now, because that's his fan base, what people now do is like, those are people who listen to radio. So those radio people, they spin his music because they're like, this is what appeals to the majority of our citizens in Malawi. That's why the royalties are skyrocketing. He knows. That's his formula. He's like, to make money, I make this banger, I go register with Kosoma, I go and perform with Mamola Langa, as Ibanga play by radio, and that's
I think it's got something to do with branding, it's like tradition, like pure tradition.
But
brand in a way.
Go to the next level.
Go to the next level and
get out there. I mean, we listen to strange traditional music from Zimbabwe and literally it's like if you wanted to, you could, but it's because he's comfortable and saying, I'm making this amount of money, so that's good. He's not exploring alternative revenue streams.
Exactly.
Moving on, physical music sales, which people will argue is in decline. But I want to make an argument right now that, now everyone is selling their music digitally, right? So you have your project, you say, send money here, and I'll send it to you on WhatsApp, whatever. How many of you are calculating how much data this is costing you? Because that's actually the cost of doing that.
Of what? Sending money?
Your project on WhatsApp.
Once you send it, email.
Yeah, email or like as a zip file on WhatsApp or as
but then as a zip file on WhatsApp, once you send it once, it's just done. You just forward it from there. It's just that one person, one thing that they will be sent out before.
So the advantage of that, which is like, it really shouldn't cost you much. But I still think physical music sales is something that people need to bring back for two reasons. One is that it actually doesn't cost you much to make a CD. It's what, like 400 kwanza? See, people don't know.
but renting,
yes. 400 and they'll give you your CD with the card.
Everything, one.
No, even though the one go for where design.
But it's designed in one song. It's just like for all of us, one design.
The problem will be the now
There's no CD.
I mean, my device is there.
I haven't read.
Because even on that,
But I think it was actually working. What Ellie did.
Yeah, the band.
Yeah.
So for me, I think with physical music sales is that it's very cheap. So the return, the markup that you put on it is actually what, like even now, they still do that because they know really that's the easiest way to make money. It's so cheap to come up with that CD and say, okay, here my CD, I produce 1,000 copies and sell those 1,000 copies and make more than 50% return on your money. So it's very, very lucrative. And I think, I don't know, people have thrown it away, but I still think like we should try and bring it back to that. Because not only do you have the option to bundle it, so you put your CD there, you add a t-shirt, you add a mag. It costs you maybe 1.5 to t-shirts. Doing some math now. Doing some math. Okay, let's say it costs you 10,000 to come up with that bundle. Because they're seeing a CD, they're seeing a t-shirt, they're seeing a mug, and like you are surprised, you're an artist, you're surprised that it costs 400 to come up with a CD.
Yeah.
But your fan is thinking, could you go and spend money with Hwanga? You're selling it at 20,000, you're making 100% profit, and they're buying it because they feel like they're getting the value for their money. It's like you're offering me 3 things for 20,000. Sure, I'm gonna do that. So I think like you just have to get creative with it. But I think you don't throw it away to you. But there's still people on the ground, like people were saying, who are not streaming, not even bothering about internet, what, free mode. Those ones, they need to go and buy your CD. And also the same thing about building your fan base. Because now you've sold your CD to Blender, someone is like, which one they would? They have the means to play it after they've bought it. And Basi, they're like, oh, okay, this guy is interesting. And they go follow you on social media. And now you're gathering your following. And now you can get brand ambassadorship deals. So you see how everything is connected. So for me, it's like, don't dismiss any type of, like, if you can invest in it, then make that investment because the return is there. It's just how it is with music. So I think with physical music sales, I don't know if there's additions, subtractions, comments, but that's what I think is that we shouldn't throw it away completely because Natalia, OG, Sarita, making millions. It's literally too easy because it's 400 kwacha to produce that thing. And you go and literally you spread your wings, so you don't even focus on like, going to City Mall, it's like you're wasting your time. The person at City Mall probably streams or can download it or whatever. But to get in my location now in the districts, you can do that. Yeah, you have like a guy, what do I say? Right? Alright, here are my CDs, you give him 50 copies, go and sell on that side. And it's close to the border, next thing people in Zambia. But like, you don't know what can happen. Yeah. So you just have to keep your mind open. And yeah, so I think. But yeah, so I think that's, yeah.
I think for me, I always used to think or consider CDs as, or selling CDs as an artist. This is, I'm putting my music here and I expect my customer to take the CD and listen to it. But I think in actual sense it's more or less a collectible thing.
Yeah.
So
it's like a collector's item. Yeah, exactly. And the same thing that I was talking about the vinyls. It's just a collector's item. It's not like people have record players, but they bought that LED thing just to keep it. It's like, at one point this person released this project and I have this thing. So and another thing, if you sign it, you can even raise the price up even more. It's like, hey, it has my signature. It has my signature. When I'm rich and famous, you're gonna want this to sell it as well. So
so you can bid like how much you pay for. You didn't even put a price on it.
Yeah.
The price of Malawi as well.
Yeah, I think so.
Exactly.
Ben bought it for like 400K one. So now, like when somebody
Maybe
says
that's
that.
what it. Are you looking at the presentation or Bible?
Sorry.
Check your email for my presentation.
Oh, and it's on the WhatsApp group.
Oh, okay, it's on the WhatsApp group as well. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you know how it works today? He just said, oh, I'm selling the flags, and he didn't put a price for it, and he just asked people, how much do you think you pay for it? And then people are very sentimental. So like, you know what?
Hey, like I'm never gonna play the CD because but if my favorite artist is selling a CD, I'll buy it. I'll be like, one thing, but you're 600 that you didn't have before. So I think, I don't know, it's like every investment is a risk, but I think it's one that we should definitely try and go back to, seeing as the state of our economy is not that great.
Yeah.
And, we're developing internet, what, but we're not there yet. So, I don't know, we should go back
and also like people's laptops have
CD players.
Yeah. So if they really want to play your music,
they can play it.
Put in the car.
And that was pretty much the same point that
is for me. Yeah, so I think don't see it as that's a way for people to listen to your music, but see it as it's just like you're just making money from it. It's just it's a collector's item and they'll buy it. So I don't know, start small, sell 100. You'll be surprised if you do the math how much money you can actually make from selling 100 CDs.
Yeah.
So yeah, just for music sales, I would say bring it back for our system. And then the last point is music licensing. I can't even say it's in development. We have movies out, yeah, so the movies have songs in there, but there's maybe 2 songs from Malawian artists. This is an issue. We have, series like the Uvera Angie, and we have the radio programs. They also have radio program series, but how many of them are actually using like Malawian music inside those productions? So now with this, it's back to the music publishing company. If we had more music publishing companies, these are actually the people that push to get music into these spaces. The only thing you need to do is have good music. You go convince an influencer, but boss, when you're releasing this video you make, can you please use my song here? And they're supposed to pay for it because, you license your song to them, it's like, yeah, you can use it, but pay for it. So that's like one of the things that are maybe coming in, but not many people know that they should be doing that or are doing it at all. So we have like Highbrow, okay, that song has like 2 of those songs that they had to pay to say, okay, we're using your songs, so here's the money for it, and then they used his music. And literally it's like 10 seconds of your song, but 6 figures. Because it's like, you don't know how much money I used to make that thing, and like, I made it, and you want my song specifically. So either you pay this amount of money, or, go find another song. And then always the other songs are not working, they just really want your song. So that's how you can make money from music licensing. For me, it's like, not as common, but it has like high returns. So it's like one of those ways they really have to pay a lot of money up front, and then they're gone. And then like they keep it, because like we could watch Hyper 50 times. I'm listening to a song every time I play the song. So that's why I have to pay you a lot. It's like you're never gonna see the return that they get from using your song in that video. But like, you should get something out of it up front. So with that, I think you just need to develop a culture of, you don't always have to use Beyonce's song in your video or in the music, like whatever visual media you have, you can include the Malawian artist's song and pay them for it so that they earn from it. So I think it's something that on the musician side, we should push for, to say, okay, you're producing this visual media thing, and there's like not even a soundtrack, it's made by a Malawian producer. Stuff that we can fix and stuff that we can change. Like, can you just downloading from where, talk to Grisba, tell them, Grisba, developing this, whatnot. I want a song for the, soundtrack that time. Please produce a beat for me, whatever. And that's how you can make money from it. So, this, I have so many YouTube channels, Johnny, tell them to put your music in there. Like, that's another way to just get out there. And also, YouTube pays them. They're supposed to list that they've included that song in whatever the main, and then you get money out of it. Because you see, sometimes you try to use Beyonce's song and it will tell you, you didn't pay to use this song. Yeah, we've taken down your post because you didn't pay to use this song. And that's literally how licensing is supposed to work. So I think it all circles back in and around to internet usage and all these things, but I think there's still room for like something we can see now, money we can earn now with like the films and the shows on TV or radio. Yeah, so those are the ones I listed. I don't know if there's anything you guys think that I didn't list that can also work in Malawi, but these are the ones that I listed. My album has 10 songs. I released 6. If you want the other 4, I've put it behind a paywall. So it's like, okay, these ones are for you guys who like to upload and who pirate my song and get it for free. But the whole thing, you pay for it, you have access to it. So I think, that's something that people are looking to as well. Also, on your Spotify, you can put a PayPal link. People just donate money or whatever. It's like, this music slaps. and like, but how many people are using PayPal in our context? So for Umata Extra, you could do the same way. The artist profile has something like you make a donation using Airtel Money or Bamba to say, oh, I like this person's music, and of course the stream is money that they'll make, but it's like, you know, so many streams required for them to see a return. So why don't I make a donation? I have 5,000, I make my donation using 5,000 Airtel Money, and that goes straight to the artist. So that's something you can look into as well, and like maybe more people can be earning money in this industry of ours.
There's also collaboration fees. If you're right there, right?
Yeah.
So you get to search people.
Or to record with them.
Yeah. No free features.
No free features. Man, why you want to start with episodes? Yeah, just $150,000. Yeah, exactly.
Actually, there's YouTube most.
On YouTube, you get paid after a million views.
No.
Subscribers. After like 1,000 subscribers.
Yeah,
Yeah, but the more they're paying you for.
But then
If you have
all the
times.
I tried
Okay, they will need
1,000,
4,000 watch time.
Okay.
Plus 1,000 subscribers. Then you might die the channel.
So like
I see, you know what I do when I will be journey. Monetizing service is not available in the country.
Yeah.
I'm a good
But
at
now,
now we are aware.
they know about Spotify.
Oh, yeah, that's all.
Yeah. That's why the money is earning more.
Oh, wow.
Isn't it his
Oh yeah, he did just spoke.
No, so with the label, it's called, it's an advance, right? So what record labels are supposed to do, not like the Malawian ones, is they give you the money. They'll tell you, okay, here's 50 million budget and house and a car. We have 100% rights to your music. So whatever money you earn from like everything, it goes straight to them because it's like you're giving back. It's like a loan.
Yeah.
So they make your life soft, and then but you don't have the rights to your music. So stuff like YouTube, you never see that money. It all goes to them. So for them, because it's a long-term plan, you are thinking short-term. You say, 50 million is that. Then what are you gonna do? You know, that's why now artists fight for their rights more, because it's like that's actually the long-term plan that has sustainable income. The thing that I was talking about, the need for alternative revenue.
Because I know there are times when I have a feeling when I will be, what about as artists, my to my cousin, often a mark life of progress and as well. No, I've seen, now my guys, they're loud, you know, right? Now my guys, you see their lifestyle on social media and you actually meet them. You see when it's all same manner, you know? It's all same manner. So,
Thank you.
yeah, that's the thing. But you know the pressure that puts on and the middle way, like up there. But you know, so it's not about the pressure. No, kind of do
Gotta sell a dream.
So I think that takes us to my next slide, which is key ideas. This is what you need to understand in order to earn more. Because now you have the ways that you can earn more. But it's not like straightforward. You do live shows, then you just start popping up everywhere and doing live shows. So the first thing I've listed is understanding your artistry and your ecosystem. So that's an EDM artist is not going to go about live shows the same way a Basada artist is going to go about live shows the same way a rap artist is going to go about live shows, right? So some people need a band, some people need outdoors, some people need clubs. So these are things that you need to understand about yourself and your artistry and also your industry in order to like be able to apply what we talked about to yourself, to your business, right? So I think on that point, I don't think I need to say much, but yeah, it's basically about that. Like, let's say if you're a small artist, your acoustic sets, that means you need to invest more in acoustic sessions that are intimate, have a few people, high ticket prices, you know, focus on venues that are not going to charge you for, say, venues that let's say split the ticket sales fee or something like that. You know, so go around it in a way that you need to understand where you are at in your career and then see where, okay, how can I, you know, my advantages at my disadvantages to come up with something that earns me the maximum return that I can get for whatever I'm trying to do. So like I've said, if it's a nice show, you're an acoustic artist focused on smaller, intimate sessions all over the place. No, maybe not even all over, but then say do it often as you can, Danny, but just have a good understanding of where you're at and how you appeal to your fan base specifically, but also generally, because I mean the aim is to grow your fan base. So you still want more people to show up to whatever it is you're doing, more people to purchase your merchandise, more people to listen to your music, and I think that's one of the things that you need to understand. The second thing is understanding the need for alternative revenue. So that's what I'm saying, Uri. An artist who's comfortable is not going to think about expanding outside of that, right? So if, like you're saying, I don't mind, is comfortable, just he's getting his money from Kusoma. He's not gonna say, oh, let me plan a tour, because he could actually pull off millions from a tour. Like, yeah, his music is being played everywhere, but he's not thinking like that, because it's like, now I'm one guy, like, at least I'm getting buying bread and going about my business, and that's like, but like, it's really about financial security, and not just you, but depending on where you're at in life, and you have wants, you have needs, you have family. Like, think about it in that context to say that you could do more, and maybe you should be doing more. So, I need to make more money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then the other thing is money management. Because now, fine, you have the alternative streams of income, you're making the money, but what are you doing with the money? You're going out, you're buying new kicks, you're going to parties 24/7, you're just splurging the money. And like I said, we're going to be Gogo's daily, yeah. So, and like I said, if the artist is a business, that's bad business management. Like, you're not managing your business well. If every cent you make is just splurged and you don't even try and account for the costs of how you made it, and also if you're making profit, and also if you can invest that money back into your business as an artist. So I think for me, money management is another thing that artists are really not trying to understand or focus. But with that, it's one of those where you see it in the way a lot of Malawian artists kind of go about their music releases, or just anything in general. It's like, oh, do I need planning it? Or did they just wake up today and decide, oh, let me do this thing,
Broadcast.
At least I've done that thing. And I think the other thing is that, like, you're actually not paying attention to how much it's costing you to go about whatever you're doing. That's why when the money comes, you're not budgeting, you're not trying to see, okay, this is how I've spent this money or made this money, and you're not trying to see, am I project? That's why I asked you at the beginning, how many of you can tell me how much revenue you've made this year? You will not hear the both of you. Can you tell me that?
Oh, what music, what?
Revenue.
Yeah, everything?
Yeah, episodes.
As episodes? No, we didn't.
As episodes.
Hey, man.
I think I performed on this Saturday.
So there's a saying in town, if the money you have cannot solve the problems,
You should spend it.
drink it.
Everything that enjoyment.
Yes.
Can you imagine? They're like, supposed more money. If you know, but like if you see, why I'm saying planning and budgeting is important, because if you see it, it's 5 pin, 5 pin, 5 pin, 10 times, it's how much money?
But
Oh, wow.
But that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. If you sit and you actually plan and think about it and budget, it's like that money is coming in, and if you add it to more money that you are saving or keeping or accounting for, you can actually see, oh, I'm actually making quite a bit of money from this artist thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Doesn't that work when the artist has like other sources? Which is what you're talking about, but like let's say somebody only makes money from like collaborations, whatever, and they leave with that.
Okay, so with that, you still have to manage your money, right? So let's say you're going for a collaboration, right? Someone has paid you to say, okay, here is your 20,000, I want a feature from you, whatever. You have to take yourself to the studio, right? So from that 20 pin, you're not spending that money. Or we have a studio, or record, and the way, like, that's now a cost. So for me, it's like, even if it's 20,000, you should be able to plan with that money. Because then you will need to go to the studio for your own thing. So if you get that 20,000 and you say this 20,000 is for me to record my next single, they do just 15,000 young beats, just 5p near transport, but at least you used it in a way that you reinvested it into your business. Does that make sense?
And then also just to add a little bit more, your statement, you said that work for someone also who has something apart from just
On the
music.
side.
No, I meant somebody who has nothing, like music is the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
yeah.
I would like to assure you that people are making money with music. There are people who just do music. They're actually making money.
They live off it.
Yeah,
Rent,
so
food,
you
it's the same thing.
You get money from Kosoma, and when you make a name, one thing that I've seen, you make money.
People just show up.
Someone just
Well,
calls
don't
you,
wait
"Hey,
for
bro,
it."
are you free tonight?" No Google is something else happening. The phone I was on before, just 3 songs. Because then they give you the time to
And then a lot of things come along, yeah?
yeah. When I got to
So now my question artists that are literally like in the US or the UK, the Malawi, no one cares about them, but they're making their money. That's
Yeah,
it,
especially the island.
So don't limit yourself.
Right. Yeah, it's popping like shows, sold out shows, yeah. Pablo used to have tours in China.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
what? And he would show you a video and you're looking at him like, eh?
And now he's in Malawi, you're like, Pablo. But it's like in China he was booked in clubs all the time, like literally. So it's one of those things. I mean, not everyone has that advantage to be in China doing school and everything. But it's one of those where you really have to be open. Because the same way like music is subjective, you can't gatekeep your music to say, you know what I mean? Like you don't know where you can hit it or how you can develop your fan base to grow. And the thing is, people are different, they might relate to your music for different reasons. So you go looking for those people the same way they come looking for you. So I think this is like, you have the fan base, that makes everything much easier. The bigger your fan base, that's when the brands come with it. We find a brand ambassador and they, we see we someone we can work with, stuff like that. So yeah, the other thing is register with Kosoma. I don't like Kosoma, but like I would still suggest that you register with Kosoma. For the sole reason of music publishing, which I've said is literally the most significant way of making money. So you register with Kosoma, and every time you put your music out, radio, TV, at least they give you back. And they have this thing called like Blank media. So that's not to do with the YouTube streams, the journey. So like even they are like looking at the YouTube streams and seeing that you deserve money for the streams, even if YouTube is not going to give you that, but they still count it and they'll give you money for that. It's practically the same thing we're talking about. Don't gatekeep your music. If you put it up on streaming platforms, you send it to radio, you send it to TV, you put it up for downloads, at least you try to appeal to, every single person that you can think of in Malawi or anywhere in the world. So with that, it's like, it just opens you up now to like better possibilities. I think so. Yeah.
And also, you can consider signing up for colleges.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a rip-off though.
Dude,
How you
people
tell-
get the return.
How you telling me you're giving me 40%?
It's 40%.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. 60 Ghana,
Okay.
Okay.
So then that makes sense because there's more players, so you actually get the biggest chunk out of it.
That's my song.
Yeah, but that means you're still making the most out of it.
Yeah.
Because the 60 they're splitting it and half.
No.
It's still
No, that is my song. That's my song. You guys are getting chunks for distribution. That's just too much. 60 is too much.
how much are you suggesting?
Give me the 60, we're gonna afford it.
I'll give you 40.
That's my song.
Okay, it would make sense if obviously now we're looking at maybe frequency. Would it maybe they're dealing with 100 artists and they're taking 60% from 100 artists? That's Uber. So now it's like, I guess that's something that would need to be explored to see the math and then see if.
And they have the audacity to say, no, so it depends on how big you are. I'm like, So my percentage is coming from how big I am as a
Now,
brand.
see, that's
that doesn't make sense. That's
exactly.
bad.
So that's
So I saw it, I'm like,
But maybe, yeah.
but then people are desperate. It's Malawi.
Yeah.
We sure would you charge them like, no, we don't have that. What we have is this. Now you're home thinking, did he be
Very true.
very.
Yeah. The other thing is to organize your own shows. It's risky, but I think this can also apply practically no matter where you're at. So that's why I put big or small. Like if you're smaller, just focus on smaller shows, intimate settings, small people. Even if it's like your family members, they still pay to be there. So instead of asking, like it's so different with people. It's like share me 10 pins. I'm selling this thing for 10 pin. Okay, well then so with that, it's and I think with this, depending on where you're at in your artistry, don't try and flex too much muscle, which means don't focus too much on things that don't matter. Decorations, good sound, show up, great performance. And performance is like one of the most simplest ways of building your fan base, because people always show up somebody that didn't know who you are, or someone who comes and had nothing to do who shows up. Yeah, so over time it grows. It's 40 people today, it's 400 people tomorrow, 40,000 people next month. It's slow progress, but at least it's progress that returns money on the spot and you can see it really, okay, this is it. And with this, I would just suggest saying, really, you plan everything on your own to say, okay, I'm gonna outsource the sound and this. You can actually partner with the people who provide sound and lighting and say, okay, this is what we're doing. The ticket sales, this is how we're splitting it. And so you didn't have to put in any money, but you make something out of it.
Exactly.
Which I think is better if you're a small artist, and then if you're a big artist, then you have that advantage to say, I'm gonna pay for everything myself, but then all the returns are mine at the end. So yeah. Another thing is to develop your own merchandise, and what I'm saying, please don't just stick to t-shirts. You can literally anything. And for me, it's the posters thing. I'm so serious. People will buy the poster again. The poster, the mug, it's something they're using. And also, you have to be careful to pay attention to seasons, right? People are selling t-shirts throughout the year, but if it's cold season and you're selling a hoodie, someone will be more inclined to say, hey, let me get a new hoodie, and also I'm supporting the artist I like. So you think of it and stuff like that. It's summer, you get a cap, So you have to tailor it to say, okay, these products in my product range are for summer, these are for winter, these are for people with more disposable income, these are for people with less disposable income, and you go about it like that. So I think with this, research is very important, because the cost it takes you to produce determines how much of a markup you get put on it, and therefore how much money you can make in the end. So with research, you'd be surprised how cheap it is to actually develop some of these things. And when I did the awards, and people were like, hey, this must have cost so much money, this set, and I was like, no. Not really, not really. It's just thinking outside of the box to say, okay, this is what I'm looking for. And you can see, okay, it looks complicated, but it needs glass, it needs a tube of lighting, and you go get those things separately, and the cost of putting it together is actually cheaper than you would have thought it was. But also because you're not putting the plan on paper to look at it practically, you're just thinking in your mind, it's expensive. You actually haven't done the numbers to see if you can do it or not. So I think with that, just sit down with your graphic designer, some service providers, see what works, what doesn't work. The numbers also play around a lot. It can even be so random, 15 of these, 25 of those. In total, have 100 items for merch for sale, and you've made something there, because everything is sold at a markup price. And then partnering with brands. This is now about who you are as an artist and brand alignment. So for me, it's if I'm a brand that cared about, I don't know what example to use now. Football, for example. I'm a football brand. Maybe let's say a planter, his co-planter, right? Which artists do I know are very interested in football? Because they talk about it on their platforms, so you can tell that they have a passion for it. So I know, let's get charisma, people seem to talk about football a lot, whatnot. If I'm looking for a brand ambassador for Blanda Football FC, anyways, then I know, this is the artist that I want to work with, because one, they're already passionate about it. It won't be hard for them to sell whatever I'm selling, and that's one thing that I feel is very lacking in terms of the sports, and because sports and entertainment are actually very connected in other countries. From Malawi, there's a big disconnect, very huge disconnect. Queensland that's supposed to be selling whatever shirts for us to be buying and wearing, and you have a brand ambassador, an artist who's propelling those sales forward, just because every time there's a game they're talking about it, that leads to more views, people watching the game, everyone wins in the end. But I feel that's not being applied to our ecosystem, and I think it's something that we can do more, but also that comes from stuff that you care about as an artist to put yourself out there. So it even comes from like, you just genuinely have an interest in, say, ending GDP. So you go work with NGOs that want to stop GDP, in your capacity as an artist. You can do that personally, but also in your capacity as an artist. And if an NGO comes around looking for, oh, Malawi artist does this, you're the first name that pops up in that person's mind, and now you have a paid gig, something that you're actually just genuinely interested in. So I think that's also another way that you can apply this practically to your careers. And then the last thing is practicing exclusivity. This one is tricky because it's kind of hours. But exclusivity sales, like that's just facts. Like sometimes you see whatever, Gucci are coming up with, and you're like, really, that thing you're selling it for $4,000, and it's like really, So I feel like with Malawi artists, you're very obsessed with just putting yourself out there. It's how you have been brought up, conditioned by the industry. Exactly. So you are not very strict about where your music goes and how you make money and stuff like that. So in that case, it's like, I'm okay as long as I'm booked and everyone is booking me for free. It makes zero addition to times a year, but no one paid me a cent. So with that, it's like, you say that, okay, I'm performing for free, but I want someone to sell my merchandise. Give me a table to sell my merchandise, and you show up there, you're selling your merchandise. In the same sense where it's like, you now not gatekeep and promote your music to say, all right, I want to sell it for 2 weeks, then I'll put it out for free. Like that's a way of practicing exclusivity to make money. So I think that's like one of the ways that you can apply that practically to your lives. Additions, subtractions, comments.
On the topic of exclusivity, I think it was on the first day, Joe Kills was wondering why lots of festivals didn't book a and I think there was even episodes which told him it doesn't make sense for you to do all those shows and you're just constantly putting yourself out there, and then after that your brand value is going to drop
because we've seen him so many times. So he's someone who's already established himself as an artist who has his own shows. So he can't just keep popping up at every festival, everything. It's like, okay, so now when I have my own people going to show up, I mean, your fans will, but it'll be like, bruh, we saw you that time, we saw you that time. So it's kind of like you have to really be very particular about. That's a really good point. You don't just hop on everything because the opportunity is there. See, how does this help me? Future terms, monetary terms, like consider your options to say, can I forego this thing? Yes, I can. And you forego it. Like also, same thing with collaborations. Artists just hop on every song. It's like, what are you and this artist making this song? It's because by some like 15 people and they're everywhere. Oh my. It's being developed, so it's exactly. So there's two. There's the publishing and there's the live shows. What would you say from anything in the case study that is affecting how much they're making currently? Whether you think maybe it could be higher or lower, they could get booked more or less. What do you think is affecting these things?
If they're passionate about physical exhibition, we should also work on
to maybe gain brand partnerships or ambassadorships for that, right? What else? What I was saying about merch opportunities are sometimes attached to what you're releasing, right? Yeah. So if like you're releasing a song and the song is called Gaia, My Nightmares, and then you produce merch with scary things and then you release, like, it gives you more options is what I mean. Just that gives you more options in general. And since the year is long, you just need more options to make more money. So I think that works. And also what you're saying is he released a hit song and kept releasing songs. That hit song definitely could have carried him throughout the year, but he is releasing an album soon. So he wants to keep his momentum going. You see? Yeah. So he wants to keep his momentum going.
That works hard.
Bro.
But that's
I'm coming. Oh, another thing, it says that he's passionate about the digitization of the music industry. Why is he not on streaming sites?
I don't know. Doesn't make sense at all for you to be passionate about the digitization of the industry and you just don't care how people are accessing your music. because now you're sleeping on streams. So that's another way that he could be making money. He could be talking about it, but he wants someone else to talk about it, which doesn't work. So that's something else that Artist X could get into to earn more money.
Yeah.
Now, future revenue streams that you see, we've discussed some of them, but I think you guys have forgotten two. One.
You already talked about the merchandise thing.
We've talked about the merchandise thing.
Next.
We've talked about the brand ambassador thing. We've now just discussed the streaming thing.
You said
There's one
the show is the idea. Tour.
Last sentence.
His EP needs to be sold.
What else can he do with the release of his EP?
Physical music.
Merchandise. What else? Physical music sales. What else?
Registering.
What else?
Flags.
Exactly.
Tour.
Flags, tour. You see? So now the EP gives him an opportunity to now, this is now internal plan, right? It doesn't depend on people booking you or whatever, but you can come up with lots of plans to say that this is how I'm going to make money from my debut EP. And it's his debut EP, he's been in the game for a while. Like, this is like, people might be looking forward to it, but the same thing about access and distribution is very important in how you make money from the work that you put out. So, review. Every artist is a business. I think everyone is either going to mention that or has mentioned it and start to feel yourself that way and how you operate with your money and all that. The most basic point about the importance of revenue is that without it, you cannot earn any profit or support your business in the long run. So people with day jobs probably can't tell that their business is not making money because either way, they'll get that money from their salary and invest it into their business, right? So you don't know if Tia Joanne is making money, but because somehow it was at Tia Joanne's that you're just like, yeah, this is going well. Like, you know, no need to like actually pay attention on whether revenue is being made, profit is being made, because you're not calculating any of your costs or reinvesting that money or putting it aside to say, this is money that Tia Joanne has made and putting it down to say, yeah, this is how this business is going, this is how much revenue I'm earning. Alternative revenue streams provide sustainable income for musicians and bring structure to the music business, because that's what we're talking about. If we make it normal for people to release their projects and go on tour and, you know, it creates jobs. You have a formula to say this is how the industry works. The reason why fans always say, hey, Malawi, you in the music industry. I mean, we're in the industry, we know it's there. But because we're all just trying to figure it out, we're all just trying to figure it out and there's really no structure or leadership, it kind of just looks like everyone is vibing. Because to them, it really looks like, what are these people doing? Yeah, but the other people, you know, they'll release a project, they'll go on tour, they'll release merchandise and repeat. So you know that that's how it goes for that artist. These are the things that are extra because it now depends on how it's received by the general public, etc., being booked for live shows and stuff like that. So, fourth point, every business is unique. Get familiar with your art, your ecosystem, and your fan base in order to decide which alternative revenue streams work best for you. And the last one is a quote, which is, actions make money, good habits keep money, knowledge and experience multiplies money. You should keep that one. Now, moving on to our exercise. I want everyone to write down their main stream of income currently. So if you're an artist manager, that would be for your artists that you manage, one of them, think of, okay, this is how they're making money the most right now. And then we're going to estimate your annual revenue for 2021. From that thing, think about it to say, give it a figure. I think you can keep the figures, but you give me a range for the figure. Yeah.
Checkouts.
I mean, you already told us you made what, 400?
Yeah. So I
music
think
publishing?
I could say that this year
Yeah.
it's been maybe let's say 4 to 6. Because I had like 3 theme songs for different individuals.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say it's 4 to 6.
So you have that as well. Million.
Wow.
And you're still buying.
That's because
you're
of
still buying speakers. In
No. You know, it's not just the speakers. I would have mentioned other bigger things.
Oh yeah,
but, you know,
just
it's
because
different.
it's
Yeah.
money that you make is reinvested in that
How you
way
invest it, yeah.
to have something that you can sell.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of money that I'm
Alright,
saying.
okay. So for you now, in the 4 to 6 million, there's the NGOs thing, there's the music publishing.
So there's theme songs, jingles, there's songwriting,
Yeah.
there's vocal trainings, there's the Kosoma,
Yeah.
there are live
Live
performances,
shows.
in collaboration, some small.
Yeah, some small collaboration.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think would you like to add another stream from everything we've talked about? Is there something that you're not thinking of exploring to make more money?
Yes.
Which one is that?
Organizing my own show.
Organizing your own shows. And how would you go about it, say? How many of you are familiar with Bob Girls' music here? 1, 2.
Sorry?
Familiar with the type of music you make?
Oh.
Yeah. I also have a rough idea. What would you suggest to him to say something he should definitely take note of if he's going to start doing live shows? It can be a recommendation on location or... What?
I think you said exclusively.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
that's something
what
you
you
should practice.
a man like you can set up a show and say it's 20,000 and
People will
before
show
my
up.
at least 15 or 20
Maenjo mubanga majimbo.
Yeah, because with the type of music he does, he can be exclusive.
Yeah.
Just like they say,
Live sessions with Area 10.
Area 10.
Sure, 15B.
15B.
Well, what about 15 times?
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
And you're performing alone. What's around all
Do you ever perform good for 4 seasons? Because that's like...
Yeah, right.
It's
Up
been
your
the
alley.
game, yeah.
Kitchen Hub, this type of music.
Yeah, that kind of...
Yeah.
So you make it intimate settings, high ticket prices, that's how you can go about it and make money. So like I said, you make a deal with the people who own the venue to say, I don't want to pay you upfront and markup or whatever, but let's say what we make from ticket sales or whatever so that you reduce your costs and actually get money out of it. So I think, yeah, that's something, you should be doing that. But how long have you been making music?
3 years now.
3 years, not bad. 4 to 6 million in 3 years.
That was just by the grace of God. The previous year, it wasn't like that. But
This time around, I gave that. Exactly. So now you see in a year where Zion, that 4 to 6 million, definitely find a way to say, okay, in 2 years' time, I want to be making 10 million.
I received.
I'm now preaching. Alright, let's do one
I
more.
think we should take a note like from Praise Omari.
Yeah.
I think we do a similar sound, I'd say. And Praise finds himself in these funny shows.
It's like, what show is this? You don't have to go and look at it on their own. But basically, you have to be listing your costs as an artist because this is where your money goes, right? So no cost is too small. If you got in your car, went to the studio, that's a low cost, stuff like that. So as the money is coming in, you also have to compare it with the money that's going out so that you can see are you making a profit or not as an artist. So I think for 2022 going forward, you have your plans, giving you the exercise, but go sit down and say, okay, this is what I want to achieve as an artist this coming year. How can I achieve that? How much money am I going to need? This is how much it's going to cost me. So that as the money is coming in, you're also thinking about the plans that you have and the budget that you've made going forward. And over time, you develop the habit and, you start retaining money as the artist business and you see, okay, this is money that Joe Kills literally is just sitting there because you have a plan and the money is just growing on it. So basically the money attracts money and that's just the rule of life. But yeah, additional resources, there's just some things that I've listed there that can help you guys with everything we discussed here. You can get me, newwavemalawi@gmail.com. Magra is the thing I was talking about more radio stations and TV stations that you can have access to put your music on there so that when you publish your music through Kosoma, you're earning more money. And then obviously get acquainted with copyright law and how the Malawi royalty system works and all that. So you can go to the Kosoma website for that information. And then if you're looking into merchandising, contact Zaluso Arts. I think they'll be able to put you in the right service providers and help you come up with everything you need. So yeah, thank you so much for having me and being such a pleasant crowd.